Good evening, everyone. It looks like folks are filing in. I'm just going to put the agenda in the chat in a moment. Okay, we have 3 items on the agenda today. The first is 1145 to 1147 Saratoga Street. The second is 5 Nancia Street, and the third is 20 Waldemar Ave. What we're going to be doing this evening is give 20 minutes to each group so that we stick to the hour here for presentation and Q&A. So I'd like to ask, is there anyone from the Saratoga Street development here to speak? If not, we'll give it to maybe 6:02 just to make sure. What about anyone from 5 Nancia Street here to speak this evening?
Yes. Hi, this is Attorney Derek Small, and I'm here representing 5 Nancia Street.
Hi, Derek. Thanks for joining. It actually looks like Saratoga just joined as well, so we will go in order if that's okay.
Hi, yes. This is 1145, 1147 Saratoga. You can let me know when I can go.
Yeah, it looks like a few folks are just entering the Zoom room. Just as a reminder, I'm going to repost the agenda in the chat for folks who are just joining. We are going to give presenters 20 minutes total, including presentation and Q&A. So we'd like to go to a little past 6:20 or so, since we have 3 items on the agenda today. Okay. Since it's a little past 6 o'clock, I think we can get started with Saratoga. So why don't you go ahead? I'll be the timekeeper. We have the meeting recording. We have someone taking. Meeting recording will be posted after the session.
Okay, perfect. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Sure.
All right, perfect. Thank you. So my name is Evelyn, and representing my mother, which is the owner, 1145, 1147. What we are proposing is we are trying to to finish the attic, to add living space to the second floor, which we are, I will show you right here. Can you see the screen?
No, we cannot see your screen.
Hold on, let me take a look. Share screen. Sorry, just bear with me. Screen. Sure. All right, so I'm gonna now just show what we're proposing. So it will be an in-law in the attic, and we are proposing to do 2 dormers to extend. Let me show you here. So this is the existing plan of the attic. This is an unfinished attic, and then this is the plan. Are you able to see it?
Yes, we can see your screen now.
Okay, yeah, so this is the plan that we are proposing, which will be adding 2 dormers, which will be one will be for the bathroom, and then the other one will be for a wet bar. Then it will be just one main big room up in the attic that it's going to be finished. And this is what we are asking to complete. Is there anything else that I should be adding?
Oh, any comments on this proposal?
Well, as of right now, we are going through with these meetings so that we can have one final meeting with the city of Boston, just to make sure that, you know, that we're meeting the qualifications for the construction. And since the dormers that are being proposed are, I'll add this comment, is that the dormers that are being proposed are not going to be exceeding the siding of the already built structure of the house. I think that'll be all for my part.
Thank you so much.
No
Any
problem.
comments from anyone on this?
I will stop sharing the screen now.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Gail.
When she just mentioned this will not be, I guess the dormers will not be protruding, where is there a variance that's going to be requested of this proposal?
What do you mean, burial? I'm sorry, I'm not sure what that means.
Do you have to go to the zoning board of appeals for a variance?
Well, I know we have to go to the Board of Appeals. I'm not sure, honestly. The reason why it was that it was supposedly exceeding like backyard space at first for the proposed the proposal construction that we're having. So that was one of the reason. I'm not sure if that answers your question.
Not really. Can you read us all of the violations that you were given by the inspectional services?
Yeah, hold on. Let me just find that email.
Because just looking at a square drawing, I don't think it really gives us much of an idea what it's going to look like externally.
Right. Well, let me see. No, I don't think I have those drawings. Let me just, I'm trying to find the email that was sent to me so that way I can read it to you.
Gail, if I
Yes.
could just interject, taking a look at the proposed floor plan and what's there currently, I honestly don't even know if these dormers would be fully visible from the street, given the way that the house is configured to Saratoga Street.
Oh, is that what it means? So if that's what it means, I'm sorry. Thank you, Mike. So it shouldn't be that they're not like so big. They will be visible, but it's not. It won't be like popping out excessively from the roof. I don't know if that's helpful. I'm still looking for that email.
Well, I guess dimensions are helpful. So just so we're certain of what it is going to be.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's, to me at least, it's vague. Mike is a little more astute.
Well, the scale should be clearly detailed on the architect's plan. And I think zooming in on one of the corners, probably the lower left or lower right corner of that plan, would indicate the scale the drawing is drawn to. I would assume dormers that size would be under 10 feet wide and likely quite a bit.
Yeah. Let me just see here. So the side of the dormer, it says here 7 feet to up to 1/8, so it's under 10. And then I did find the violation letter if you would like for me to read it. So it says you need relief from BOA for the state of violation. Relief from BOA for state of violation again, side yard insufficiency, rear yard insufficiency. And then the other one was violation Art 27G, East Boston iPod. That's what it says.
Okay, but you're not protruding or extending your footprint, right?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Are there any abutters on this call?
Any abutters to this property? No. Okay. Gail, was that the information you were looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just more of a visual person than being able to read these plans. So I would like to know what that looked like once it's built out. And that doesn't, I can't envision, and I don't know the impact it would have on the butters, if any impact at all. So, because if you're proposing a dormer, I can't imagine it not being some impediment somehow to either visuals from an abutter or whatever. So I don't know.
Let me see. I know there is another property down the street which resembles kind of what we are proposing. I'm just trying to see if I find that. Let me see. Are you familiar with Saratoga Street, 1189?
Well, not offhand, no, sorry.
Oh, okay. Because that's just one example. That property has a similar plan to what we are proposing, but these ones are much smaller than the ones in that property.
Maybe if somebody could pull up a Google picture of it, then
Gail, I will send you a Google Street View after this meeting of that property with a focus on whether or not you can see the dormer on the roof.
Yeah.
Those houses are very, very close together. And a dormer in a residential neighborhood is about the most innocuous addition that anybody could ask for. I mean, I think that it's important that we talk about all parameters of a change to a residential property, but there really couldn't possibly be anything to object to here.
Okay, well, yeah, like I said, I'm just in a deficit not being able to visualize, so.
That's fine. I'll help you, I promise.
Thanks, Mike. And yeah, if there are more visuals for this property, we can bring them to a future meeting or send them to us via email and we can distribute them.
Yeah, definitely. I think if I could because I did have another email where I can probably pull out more pictures if that will show. Let me see here.
Well, you're coming back to the Orion Heights again for another meeting, right?
Well, I'm not sure if another follow-up will be needed, but if it is, then yes. If not, I'm more than happy to send the additional photos to the Orion Heights committee so they can distribute them.
Well, usually you do come before the committee, so.
Okay. I'm just new at this process, Gails.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so if a vote were to be taken, you'd come to our regular meeting if that were necessary, and you could bring photos at that time.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, and I know that we have, I believe it's Derek here to talk about 5 Nancia Street. Derek?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
Before we moved on, I had my hand up. I just had a very, very quick question.
I'm sorry. I thought it was in addressing Gail's question.
No,
I apologize.
Super quick.
Go ahead.
We see what's happening here. There's no full kitchen in this new space. Could we, without prying, ask the intended use for this? Is this just for family members and guests to visit?
Yes, of course. So we are, this is a 2-family home, and that is to add living space to my growing family, which now we have 2 children, and the plan is, to have a 3rd in the future, and then just for guests. So it is mainly for living space for the family.
I think that's great. I was just to find out if we were looking at a potential Airbnb or Verbo or something.
No.
Is a concern for some folks.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, and we can move on.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for your question, Mike, and Gail as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up, Mike. And if anyone else has a hand still up and I miss it, please do unmute and let me know. Okay. And Derek, I'm so sorry, but we will turn it over for you now for 5 Nancia Street. We're giving
Sure.
everyone about 20 minutes, so we'll give you up to 6:35.
Sure, no problem. Thank you so much for having us. Good evening, everybody. My name is Derek Small, and I'm a zoning attorney here in the city of Boston. With me today is Sharon Ginters, who is the architect for the project. I believe Tien Pham, who is the owner of the property, is probably on too by way of phone. But so we're here tonight to have a discussion with the Orion Heights Neighborhood Council with regard to our proposal, which is to erect a two-family dwelling on a vacant lot. The zoning subdistrict in here is a 2F4000, and our lot size is approximately 3,600 square feet. Now, if you allow me to share my, Sharon, do you want to share your screen or do you want me to share mine?
No, you can go ahead and share
Okay.
yours.
So if you guys will allow me to share screen sharing capabilities, that would be great. Okay, so here, can everybody see the plans? We're talking about the construction of a two-family dwelling at 5 Nancy Street in East Boston. Here is the site plan for the property. It's at the corner of Nancy and St. Andrews Road. Currently at 127 St. Andrews Road here, there's a two-story, two-family dwelling here. And the parcel in the rear is a vacant lot here. Again, parcel is approximately 3,600 square feet. And that's where we're seeking to put a new two-family dwelling on that site. And so this is, sorry, things got acting crazy. This is where the two families proposed at number 5 Nancy Street. What we're proposing for the off-street parking is a shared driveway accessed by a curb cut here on the plan because the property owners of 127 also own the vacant lot behind their house. So the intent is to access off-street parking for 5 Nancy here on a common driveway and an easement to access both the rear of 127 and the parking, which is located inside of number 5 Nancy Street. Again, this is another view of the proposed driveway here, curb cut. There is currently a curb cut for the vacant lot here, but we will have that curb cut closed and propose a new curb cut here so that the common driveway accesses both properties at 127 St. Andrews Road and the property at 5 Nancy. Here are the floor plans. Unit 1 will consist of 1 bedroom, 1 bath. Is approximately 920 square feet. See here. And then unit 2, second floor, consists of 2 beds, 2 baths. Is approximately 1,400 square feet, 1,450 square feet for those units. We are proposing garage parking inside of the property, basement, with our utilities and our storage inside the basement. So there is no proposed living space within the basement of the property at 5 Nancy.
And Derek, if I could just make one small correction,
Yep.
it's actually
feel free to jump in, Sharon. You're the architect, so go right ahead. You want me to move back?
Yeah, please. It's a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom unit. So there's 2 bedrooms on the main living floor, and then in the eaves up above, we have a half floor that has a sort of master bedroom, sitting room, and bath.
Yes, that's up here. Third floor plan. Here, the site elevation. Sharon, like I said, you're the architect. Feel free to jump in at any time. Here we have the elevations. On the lower left is the front elevation as to what the front entryway facing Nancy Street will look like. As you can see, we'll have stairs going up to the property and 2 doors accessing first floor unit, stairs up the second floor unit. On the bottom right side elevation is the side, right-hand side of the property, which is where the driveway will be located. And as you can see, we have a garage door at that site where we are proposing 2 indoor parking spaces underneath the building. And then up above, we have the side elevation, left side. And then top right shows the rear elevation with the spiral staircase coming down for egress for all of the units in the rear of the property. We do have a zoning code refusal letter from the Inspectional Services Department. And I'll go through the violations. Again, this is 5 Nancy Street. We're seeking to erect a 2-family dwelling on the vacant lot. The zoning subdistrict is 2F4000. And these are the violations that we will be seeking relief from the Zoning Board of Appeals. First violation that we are cited for is the East Boston iPod. Obviously, everyone is aware that East Boston isn't an iPod planning overlay district, which all of the projects will need EPDA design review. Conditional use for the ancillary driveway to access the property. That is because we are going over again and we are creating easement for the properties 127 St. Andrews Road and for the property at 5 Nancy Street. Side yard insufficient. The requirement for side yard is 7 feet. We have proposed 5 feet on the right side. Conformity with the existing building alignment. We are doing a street modal front yard with regard to that violation, and we will line the building up with other properties on that side of Nancy Street. Lot area insufficient. Again, this is a 2F4000, and we have a lot size of approximately 6. Front yard insufficient. Again, the minimum requirement is 10 feet. We are proposing 5-foot front yard. Again, and that will be a modal setting.
And to just add one point on that, Derek, it is 10 feet to the building, and the 5 foot is the deck. So the building has been aligned with the other properties, and it's just the entry porch that projects.
And then the last violation on this property is rear yard insufficient. We are short by 4 feet. The requirement is 40 feet. We are proposing 36 feet. Now, because of the parking situation and because we are using part of the property at 127 St. Andrews Road, we had to apply for a use of premises permit for the ancillary driveway. So they issued us a refusal letter for St. Andrews Road. Again, it's the use of premises prop, and it's off-street parking requirement. Driveway is giving access to from 127 to 5 Nancy. And again, they are under the same ownership. So there's no issue, and a easement will be recorded. And with regard to usable open space, because we are taking open space away from property, a little bit open space away from the property at 127 St. Andrews to create the shared driveway for 5 Nancy. We're being cited for. We can open it up for any questions that folks may have at this time.
And Derek, do you have the rendering available? If not, I can bring that up.
I don't have it available, Sharon.
Okay, yeah.
You want to share your screen? I don't know.
Yeah, I will share my screen.
All right, I'll stop sharing.
So this is the rendering of the proposed building. What you see on the right-hand side, that is the building on St. Andrews Road, the existing buildings on the left, and then the proposed building in the center.
I'm only seeing one picture, is that correct?
That's correct.
So I'm a little disoriented looking at this picture, I must say. This is going to be facing Mancia Street?
Yes.
That is correct, yep.
And so to the left is St. Andrews? It doesn't look clear to me.
No, to the right is St. Andrews Road. We're looking towards the airport from St. Andrews Road.
Okay, so is
You
this,
can see the water here.
is this otherwise forbidden use?
No, it's not.
Okay, so
It's a 2F4000 zone. We're
it's a
proposing
zone.
a two-family.
But what about this particular lot? What is the zoning for that?
2F4000.
That lot is 2F4000?
That is correct.
The vacant lot.
That is correct.
All right. All right. So yeah, I'm just speaking for someone that can't go to this meeting or couldn't attend because of community conflicts as usual. But I think they were concerned because it wasn't a full-size lot. That was one concern. And I'm forgetting what the other concern was. I'm sorry. But that was a concern. So is there any way you can minimize the?
Sharon, could you stop screen sharing and I'll go back to the.
Did we say earlier that the lot size was perhaps?
Yes, we did.
3,300 square feet?
Yep. Again, here it is here. Again, the zoning subdistrict is a 2F4000 for the lot. And if you go here, lot area insufficient, minimum requirement is 4,000, and we have 3,600. The 2F zone.
Yeah. So Gail, your assumption was somewhat correct, that the lot was, quote, undersized.
Right. By 400 square feet.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Sharon. Any other questions about this proposal?
All right, I'll bite.
Go ahead, Mike.
So the thing that I find most interesting about this is that you folks are removing a curb cut.
We're removing a curb cut and replacing it with another one. Yes, we're just moving it down a little bit.
So I thought that the undeveloped property had a non-used curb cut and there was another curb cut there, correct?
There is an existing curb cut here for that lot.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Gotcha. No, that's
so what we plan
clear.
to do is close that curb cut.
Yeah.
Move the curb cut down to here.
Yeah.
So that it can access both the 5 Nancy Street property and the St. Andrews Road property.
So 127 St. Andrews does not currently have a curb cut.
That's correct.
Okay. Wasn't aware of that. Does the city have any position or preference on two distinct and separate properties sharing a curb cut for access in a residential neighborhood, not a mixed use or,
Not usually. I mean, that's why we go to the Board of Appeals and to get a variance, and that's why we are cited for that.
Yeah.
For ancillary parking, so that the use of premises for 127 St. Andrews Road for sharing of the driveway. And again, we will create an easement and it will be on record at the registry.
Yep, it's understood. Initially, I think I just misunderstood that there were two curb cuts for two lots and you were consolidating them. My misunderstanding, but thank you.
And it looks like we have a question in the chat. Is the height 38? What is the block's visual on the sides of the roof line?
Sharon, you want to answer that? I think the height is 38.
Yeah, well, the peak of the roof, I believe, is 38, and the zoning defines the height of a sloped roof based on the midpoint of the roof, assuming there's less than 50% of the area below it, which is why we are a half story. So yes, the roof peak is up at 38. I think the property whose view would be most likely blocked would actually be the owner of the parcel, which is the property on St. Andrews, because it's directly behind that and in between that house and the water.
Right, which is 127, which is owner of the
Yeah.
5 Manchester Street lot as well.
I don't know if you answered my other question. When I'm looking at the drawing, I'm looking at the roof peaks, and then there's like a shading, a blocked kind of presentation behind the roof. What is that blocked visual?
This, are you talking about the railing for the roof deck, perhaps?
No, I don't think so. It's squared off behind the roof peak. What is that?
Oh,
visual?
that's a cross gable. So there's gables
the other
running in
roof.
both directions.
What do you mean it's the other roof?
It's the roof for the other side of the house. It makes a cross. It's a cruciform.
So it's blocked. So it's blocked
Sharon,
off like
is it
that?
better?
Those are shingles, Gail. It's the shingles on the roof.
Yeah, the
let me just see
rendering
what I'm
might be
looking
the
at.
best way to to see
I-
it.
Sharon, if
see.
you want
got
to share
it
your
now.
screen
Sorry.
again.
Yeah, let me share
No,
the
I get it.
rendering.
I didn't have my, is it blown up? Okay, got you. Okay.
Yeah, so you're just seeing the other part of the roof.
Yeah. And I just want to talk about the shared driveway. In my neighborhood, there are 3 houses sharing a driveway, and I know it's presented problems for the owners. They've all had issues with one another. And if this property, even though it's owned by the same person, if it were to ever be sold, I know it has a potential to create problems for the new owners. So it sounds fine because it's, owned by the same person, but later on, there are issues that develop.
I can say that the intent is for them, the owners at 127 are building this family members. So there will be family members.
I know, but there's no guarantee they're forever going to be the
I understand. Trust me, I know zoning goes to the property. I completely understand what you're saying.
That's probably why the city frowns on it or something, or perhaps.
Great, thank you. All right, final call for questions for Derek and Sharon.
And again, I know we'll have to come back at the general meeting too, so.
Okay, great, thank you. I see Kathy has a question. Kathy Wyatt.
Hi, this is John, Kathy's husband. I can remember when the owners of the current property actually had a full-grown horse in that yard. It was like 50-something years ago. And he used to get on the horse and take it down the Heights Beach and come back up and put it in the lot. But I really like the rendition of the house. It looks really nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd love to put a horse in the garage there.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you for the presentation. And with that, we can move on to the final agenda item, and that's 20 Waldemar Ave. Do we have someone?
Just in closing, I'd like to say thank you all for having us.
Thanks, Derek.
Greatly appreciate it. And we'll be in contact with regard to the general meeting. If there are any questions, I can put my information in the chat.
Oh, wonderful.
Feel free to reach out to me with any questions or concerns. Thank you.
That would be great. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Sharon. Okay, and do we have someone on the call for 20 Waldemar Ave?
Hi, this is Laureen Scatino. Rich Richard's going to be on in a few minutes. He needed to sign off of another meeting because of the date of this meeting was changed. So he just needs 5 minutes to get over to this meeting. If we could just accommodate.
Sure. I suppose we could take a 5-minute break for folks. We're actually running a little bit ahead of schedule due to the other presentations. In the meantime, Derek Small put his email address and phone number in the chat. I will just use this time to make an announcement that our general meeting is on Monday, the 24th at 6:30. The link for Zoom will be, it should have been sent out. We can resend it out via email, and we can put it on our Facebook page. We have yet to schedule our meetings for November. We are actively seeking additional board members. We definitely need additional participation in the board to keep the meetings up and running. We're having conversations to figure out how to best run the group. So if anyone is interested in participating or helping, please do reach out and let us know. Okay, and I don't know who is speaking for the 20 Waldemar property.
Hi, it's Attorney Richard Linz. I apologize. I actually just started another Zoom meeting. I just need to do an introduction, and I can be back on to make the presentation. If you could just bear with me for about 5 to 10 minutes, please. Okay,
I mean, that's up to the community members if they're willing to stay.
I think it's just a small ask. If you could just bear with me, considering that we have multiple meetings tonight, if we could just hold on.
Sure. I will just say we are ending at 7 o'clock tonight.
So what time did you start?
We started at 6.
So you run a 1-hour meeting? Okay, thank you. I'll be right back.
I have a question.
Sure, Gail.
Yeah, did we change the meeting dates? Because we really met the third Monday, and I was all confused. I was looking for the meeting last night.
Yeah,
so
apologies.
Apologies
for the confusion. We have been trying to send out best we can the dates and times. Jessica and I, who have taken over, were unable to accommodate the old cadence for this month. So we're doing the best we can. That's why we're looking for additional board members. We hope to keep with the old meeting cadence for November, but we do need to look at the calendar to make sure that that's possible.
Yeah, it'd be whatever date it is. It needs to be the same date so people aren't missing out.
Yeah, we understand. We're just having problems with capacity here, and I do need to note that we absolutely need another board member or need to join forces with. We've had conversations about talking to Harborview, since they do have some of the same jurisdiction, and it's my understanding that it used to be one organization. To have additional board and leadership support and structure to be able to run the meetings efficiently and effectively.
Yes, no, I appreciate that very much. I wish I were a bit younger. I would volunteer, but I'm just too old and too stressed. I don't have great computer skills, and I think somebody that has them would be helpful.
Well, if you have any recommendations for people, send them our way. We do have a question in the chat that I think is a great question. Is there someone from Mr. Lynn's team who can begin speaking to the project at 20 Waldemar while we're waiting for him?
Let me see where he is in the process, and I need to get onto a computer to share my screen, and I possibly could begin the introductions.
Okay.
Give me 1 second.
In the meantime, we did get a reminder to the inbox that Plan East Boston is having a neighborhood residential workshop tomorrow at 6 p.m. on Zoom. If anyone is interested in that, I can put the link in the chat.
Yeah, I think that's really an important meeting for our community at large, because they're looking to change zoning. In particular, they would look at the Orient Heights neighborhood and propose larger developments for the 1 and 2 family current zoning that is in place. So if someone doesn't want to see a 6 or 7 story, eight unit rather, or large complexes going up next door to them, but they need to really weigh in on this. I can't express how important that is.
Yeah, thanks, Gail. I just put that link in the chat if anyone is able to participate in that tomorrow. Also, Gail, I saw that you emailed about the additional information for the billboard. I did see something come in. We'll be sure to get our documentation all together to be able to share with the rest of the committee, along with thank you for the representative from 1145 Saratoga from tonight. We already received those documents, and we'll be sure to get them out in a proper way to you all.
Now the billboard is going before the ZBA. I forget the date, November 1st, maybe, I don't know. So are they not coming back to obviously they can't come back. They're just going to go to the ZBA.
They're coming for a vote on the 24th.
Oh, okay. They are on the agenda. Okay, great.
They are on the agenda. Yep, that is correct. Okay, and it seems like 20 Waldemar is up and running.
Okay, can you guys all see that?
Yes.
Okay, so Richard should be over shortly, and I'll have him jump in, and you're going to have to bear with me because I'm jumping in at the last second.
Hi, Lorena, I apologize.
You got it? Okay.
Yep, sorry. Thank you for your patience.
Do you want to share your screen, or do you want me to just leave this up?
I'm going to share mine.
Okay.
You know, Lorene, my screen for whatever reason is not sharing, unfortunately. I don't know why. If you can just go back and share yours, I'll have you advance it if that's possible. Did you hear me, Lorene?
Yep, 1 second.
I try to share and unless you can see that. Can you see mine?
Yep.
All right, perfect. Thank you. I apologize, everyone. I had a scheduling conflict tonight, and unfortunately, right when I got called, I was required to present something in another meeting. So my name is Richard Linz. I represent the project proponent, Gary Carter, with respect to the project at 20 Waldemar Ave. This is an updated presentation as to what we've already presented in the community through an abutters meeting. I'm going to run through a brief presentation. I'll answer any questions at the backside. So just a quick site overview of the area. Our building is located immediately adjacent to the building located on the, as you see up on the screen here, next to the larger apartment building complex. The site and zoning district is identified in the BPDA's abstract, which is shown here. It is in a 1F 4,000 district. It's 50 foot in width by about 95 feet in depth. The and again, as I mentioned, the zoning district's a 1F 4,000. Just a couple of different views from the street showing the existing conditions, as you can see from Waldemar Ave, looking down Waldemar Ave, and then looking back up Waldemar Ave with the apartment building off to the backside. So what I'm showing here is just some updates for the renderings, and I'm going to walk through the plans in a moment. And I believe, do we have the architect from Balance on with us? Is it Phil?
Yep. Hi, I'm here.
Great. Phil, I'm going to walk through quickly, and I'll turn it over to you to see if you can just give us a little bit more insight of what we're doing. So just a couple of different renderings. These are the updated renderings that we have been working through with the neighborhood. Some changes that we've made include reducing this from a proposed 9-unit building to a 6-unit building. We do maintain 6 parking spaces. And again, just a couple of different views to show the context of how this would fit on the site. So I'm going to let Phil talk a little bit about some of the things that we've been doing with the process, including some of the changes that we've made. So Phil, if you could just walk through this, and I'll try to advance the slides as necessary.
Yeah, sure. So this was our original building. You can see that extended quite far into the rear yard. And so what we did was we essentially, there were units on the front, we kind of lopped those off and shrunk the building to accommodate for that. So if you look at the next slide. Yeah, so those that we had a units, 3 units stacked on top. We removed that completely and then just kind of sucked that back towards the rear yard. So you can take a look at the next slide. Yeah, so in that process of shrinking the building, then we brought it slightly forward so that we'd have a significant rear yard. We didn't really have a significant one before. And you can go to the next slide. And yeah, you can see our new footprint. It's very similar in terms of, you know, the facade design, keeping the top floor a different material to kind of make the building not feel as tall. And then we are reducing some of the balconies on the front yard. We generally feel people, they want to open their windows and feel like they're sitting outside, but often those aren't used as much as balconies in the rear, which we do have. You can go to the next floor or slide. And yeah, I don't know, do you want me to talk about the floor plans, or is that something you want to do?
If you could give us a little bit of just a little overview of what we're looking at for floor plans.
Sure. So the plan on the left represents basically the ground floor. So you can, in the middle of the building, there's an entry that you could walk into from grade. There's the garage entry to the right. So that's where the cars would be coming in and out. And then you have your 6 parking spots there, an area for trash and recycling for the building inside, and a lift to get from that garage level up into the first floor. And then on the opposite side of this is showing the roof plan. So on the roof, we have a couple of private roof decks. These are not common. These are exclusive to the 2 units up there. And then in the back, you can kind of see we have a patio area for the unit that's on the first floor. And on the units above, we have balconies that go into the rear yard. Go to the next slide. Yeah, so you can see on the plan left how much further and larger the building was. And now it's significantly set back about 25 feet. And then you can see some of those patio areas. And, you know, the site is very steep. So we have a retaining wall that allows us to have those patios, and then the balconies that you see on the plan left on the front of the building are now turned into Juliet balconies. And so, oh yeah, sorry, you can go back. Yeah, so part of this process too was slightly shrinking the building to allow for greater side yard depth. So we shrunk the building by a foot from the original design, and then pushed it over to the left so that the building on the right, which is a smaller residential building versus the apartment complex on the plan left. So we're kind of pushing it closer, keeping the density higher on the left side and slightly less on the right side. You can go to the next slide. So there was some concern in the neighborhood about shadows. You know, the front of the building faces north, so the majority of these shadows would be on the street and not on residential buildings. So we're looking at the kind of the spring and fall shadows at the 9 a.m., which falls mainly on the building to the left, the 12 p.m., which mainly falls on the sidewalk in Waldemar Street or Waldemar Ave, and then near kind of sunset in the 4 p.m. area, you see the shadows there. And the sun in the summer really is up high. So you can see there's far less shadows than the spring and fall. But again, a lot of these shadows are falling kind of on the public right of way and not as much on some of the buildings or the yard. Go to the next slide. And then the winter, there's shadows everywhere, as we know from the winter in Boston. But this is looking at the 9 a.m., 12 p.m., and 4 p.m. Basically by 4 p.m., the whole neighborhood is in darkness. Go to the next slide. Yeah, so this is a rough concept of showing that retaining wall. So along the rear, you know, whatever existing large trees we can keep, we would keep, and then replant with kind of columnar trees to maintain privacy. See that small retaining wall and, you know, a schematic concept of the massing of the building in yellow. Yeah, and this is just another kind of schematic section showing how we're kind of addressing the rear yards. The rear yard stays very high, kind of slopes down toward the building, and we do have a full grade change in height between the ground floor or the sidewalk and then the back, and that's kind of, you can see that in the green line that follows along the side of the building. So yeah, so that's that. Oh yeah, and then we did, you know, there's always a concern about visibility into other properties. So one of the design moves that we did for the rear balconies was to create kind of like a lattice. So these are just, if you would imagine, wood planks turned at a 45-degree angle. So there'll be the feeling of, you know, light will be able to, air will be able to move through there. But when you're in the unit and when you're sitting on the deck, you're not going to have a visible view to your neighbor. They're set at a 45-degree angle. So that's happening on the 3rd floor, the 2nd floor, and then the balcony, or sorry, the patio is kind of sunk in. So there's not much privacy concerns there. And so, yeah, so these are the type of, that's the concept of it, right? So it's open, it allows for the movement of air, but it's not visible between the units. And then we did a kind of a sightline visibility study, looking from the street, looking from the neighboring property specifically to see, you know, what it would be like if you're in the house, if you're on top of the yard of the neighboring building, and if you're on the sidewalk, you know, could you see the railings of the roof deck? And when we first did it, you could see them when you're kind of very far away on the upper right hand. So we did shrink one of the roof decks to accommodate that sight line.
Great, thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. So just real quickly, the process looks like this. We started this process by filing our building permit in our zoning appeal with the ZBA. We're in the community outreach stage where we've completed a butters meeting. I know my client, Gary Carter, has done significant outreach to direct the butters, and we're now certainly presenting this through the Orion Heights Neighborhood Council. We anticipate a zoning board hearing probably sometime later this winter, maybe even after the first of the year. We will have BPD design review, assuming we actually have an approval. We would go through BPA design review, and then ultimately permit issuance. The earliest we would see that is spring of 2023. Assuming that all goes to plan, our construction would take place and last throughout the summer of 2023, start the summer 2023 and last about 12 months. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do you have any questions?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, Daniel,
Hello?
we can hear you. Yep.
This is Dan Tedesca. I'm next door in the butter. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So again, I wasn't at the abutters meeting. I wasn't able to attend. I'm right next door at 24 Waldemar Avenue. I think this rendition is pretty good because it shows the shadow between the two buildings. I've talked to Gary about it too. I do have concerns with actually the variances that are requested in this. And I understand you're asking for variances in height towards the property here at 24 Waldemar. And I also have some concerns about the neighborhood congestion that's going to be created from the size of the project. There has been, I've been given some information about the drainage, which is a big concern of mine, as well as some privacy issues that I'm trying to be mitigated. I guess, you know, right now here you're building the main issue that I have with it is building a 6-unit building in an area that's only zoned for a single family home. And I really have concern with size and the congestion that it's going to bring. Okay, right now Waldemar Avenue is just, there just isn't any parking, and there's potential to have 12 vehicles in this building. Okay, so there's 6 off-street parking. I get it, but there's a potential to have more because these are 2-bedroom units. I understand. So, you know, 2-bedroom units could bring 2 cars a unit. So I guess my main concern is that you're trying to build a condo building in a lot that's only zoned for a single family dwelling. Okay, and I'm the single family dwelling next door. So I have concerns with my residents. Okay, so what's going to happen to that, right? It's going to be a tear down just to build another building, and then it's a domino effect. So again, right now, I just think the size of the building, even though it was started at 9, which is just totally, you know, just not even feasible, I don't think, for that lot, you know. And the drainage concern is a concern of mine. I see that there's a plan to put some kind of a drainage system with tanks underneath the building. You know, my basement is not, there's no moisture issues in that right now. And I just have real concerns with that. Any variance towards my structure. Now the zoning rules, the zoning rule. And, you know, and the height is another one. It's 10 feet taller than the current height that's zoned for that structure in that lot. So no, I just still have some serious concerns with that. And if there was a vote today on the building, I probably would say no. I would say no. And so, you know, I know that there's other butters there that have concerns with it too. And so right now, I just think that all the concerns that, although there has been some mitigation done on a lot of them, I still have those concerns, particularly the size of the building and the amount of units in the zoned single family lot, the moisture, the privacy, and the shade. And any zoning variances for height and towards my structure, I've been very clear that I've been against that, and I still am. Thanks.
Thank you. I just want to briefly just respond. I know you raised a question about drainage. This property, you know, would benefit from improved drainage that doesn't currently exist on the site. Any new construction project in the city of Boston, especially one of this size, requires on-site stormwater management, something that doesn't exist today. So any concerns over runoff and drainage would actually be addressed by redeveloping the site. I do understand your concern about the zone. You know, zoning is an interesting and not very rigid, concrete concept when you're looking at mixed uses in an area like this. We have an apartment building immediately to our left. that's a multifamily residential. I understand that, that is a non-conforming use, but I think, considering its proximity to public transit and the location of, what's on our, immediate border here to our left, we're trying to find something that's a little bit more transitional for our site. So reducing it from 9 to 6 units, we thought was a step in the right direction to address that, reducing the bulk of the building and addressing a number of the comments that we did hear through the process, community process with the butters was the goal here. So I appreciate your comments, but I just wanted to respond because I know you'd mentioned about drainage. So that is something that actually gets improved.
Thank you. And I just want to note it is 7 o'clock. Due to the unforeseen circumstances and the wait, I think we can add, I'm willing as host to add 10 more minutes on to give residents and abutters the opportunity to ask them questions. So if folks want to go to 7:10, we can, but at that point, we will ask that you come to the next DRC meeting to answer any additional questions, should there be any.
Will that next meeting be, I'm all for like letting it go for 10 more minutes. This is Dan Tedesco again. Will that next meeting be
It'll be in November. It's yet to be scheduled, but we're working on that now.
Got that. And we'll be obviously given a notification of that, right?
Yes.
Okay, but I'm all for if there's anyone else that would like to chime in for the next 10 minutes, I'm free.
It looks like Kathy Wyatt has a question. You can unmute.
Hi, this is John Wyatt, and I live across the street. But first of all, Dan, I didn't realize that you lived over there. I thought Joe lived in that house. But in any case, we live across the street, and I saw the first proposal, and this proposal, as opposed to the first one, kind of fits into the whole scheme of the neighborhood. I don't know if you know this. Well, you've probably seen the rendition, Dan, that Suffolk Downs has. It's going to be like directly across from us, behind us, and across the street from you. And there's going to be some serious buildings over there that I think is going to kind of infringe our neighborhood more than anything that looks like this. This looks really nice, and I think it fits in. The house that is there now is been neglected for years and unsightly. At least this adds a little bit to the neighborhood. I like it. Thank you.
Hey, John, just to let you know, like that house on 24 is, I'm the trustee for that house. My dad built it. He does still live in it. He's 92 years old. He's not very computer savvy, if you will. All right. And also that I was told that any building in that Suffolk Downs lot along Waldemar Ave will be single family units on Waldemar Avenue because it is zoned.
No, they're not.
No, they're not there.
They're going to be townhouses along the back of our houses. And then there's going to be...
I understand that, but that's not along Waldemar Ave. I'm talking about down past Frasca's old house.
Right. No, I understand.
Okay.
But if you look out of your dad's house and across, that landscape is going to look unbelievable. It's not going to be fitting for our neighborhood. You're going to have high buildings over there that are going to look unsightly, but it is what it is.
Right, and I agree with you that what's currently there is an eyesore. All right, yeah. But I was told when Gary bought the house that he was going to renovate it and live in it, and that's not something that's being proposed here. You know, mm-hmm. It's just it's a killer.
Can I speak? I'd like to jump in.
Yeah, go ahead, Gail.
I had my hand up, I believe, but maybe it wasn't visible or something. Yeah, I'm going to agree with the Tedesco family. When you look at the renderings, it towers over the
single family next to it, which is the Tedesco home. And personally, I would not want to be living next to that. It will cast shadows. The sun rises in the east, and I think it's pretty much in direct alignment with the sunrise there, as far as I know our landscape here. And this is a one family zone. It's quite obnoxious to propose 6 units on the same site. Obviously, they're trying to chip away at the zoning in our neighborhood, and it's solidly 1 and 2 family. And if they want to do possibly 2, but not more than 1 really should be proposed for the replacement. And the courts have been upholding the zoning, having developers pretty much abide by zoning in probably 80% of the cases. So if this goes on appeal, that would not have any chance of success. And also, it's not in keeping with the character of our current neighborhood, regardless of what's going on at Suffolk Downs. Suffolk Downs is a whole different animal, but this is somebody that's living next door to a family, or this proposal. So I'm opposed to it myself as a resident in the neighborhood.
We have a few more hands. I'll call on Brooke.
Hello. I wanted to speak in opposition to this proposal to replace a single family home with a non-compliant condo building. Given the lot size and what this neighborhood is zoned for, being the only area of East Boston zoned for single family homes, this type of construction does not fit in with the existing neighborhood. And while it is next to another large scale building, I think what we're being faced with here is, what we have, we can't change, but we can stand up to preserve our neighborhood and oppose projects like this. So I think it's too big. It is going to have negative side effects for some of its abutters, and I'm against it.
Thanks for your comments, Brooke. Sean, I see you have a hand raised.
Sure. Yeah, I just wanted to speak briefly. We've been at the other end of Waldemar. We're at 108 Waldemar for a little over a year and a half, and this is becoming somewhat of a pattern in terms of the proposals that we're seeing around us. The playbook seems to be ask for 9 or 12 units and then appear reasonable when you're looking for 6 at the end in front of the zoning board. And all along the zoning board, the zoning requirement was only for 1 family. I have one other concern, I think, in terms of adding this many cars in that area. You see a lot of traffic running around that corner. It's not the safest. It's certainly when I'm walking around there and adding another driveway that would be as active as this. The concern of an accident there would be something that I would point to. Just it coming around the curve just isn't the nicest place to try to have that much traffic. So I can appreciate the Tedesco's concern as somebody who has a similar project being proposed next door to them. And, I just think that it's out of compliance. It doesn't conform. And I haven't really heard a reason from the developer in terms of why now we need 6 units here outside of the zone single family use. So that's all.
Thank you, Sean. Okay, I think there's one more comment by Kathy, and then that'll be the last comment we take tonight to keep to a timely meeting, and would ask that the representatives for 20 Waldemar come back to the next DRC meeting when it's scheduled.
No?
Go ahead, Kathy. Go ahead, John.
Hi, thank you again. Further down the street on the same side, I think there's actually a 3-decker there with an open lot next to it. And then we have across the street a multi-unit building at 75 Waldemar Avenue.
Oh, yeah.
If nothing else, I think this fits into the neighborhood better than other houses that are further down. And as far as the traffic goes, that's all on Boston Police. We've asked for 20 years to have something done about the people flying down the hill. Our prior owner, they drove right through our living room. So, I mean, that's an issue that needs to be, that's separate from the unit that's being built. That's a city enforcement issue that we've been trying for 20 years to get help on. But other than that, I just want to add my 2 cents, because we're almost directly across the street from that eyesore that's there now. And as far as the sun goes on the house next to it, I mean, that's a snapshot of just a certain time of day. That's not all day.
Because it goes right overhead.
But I just thought I'd add that. And thank you again. I'm definitely for this project if we can get rid of that unsightly thing that's there now.
Okay, thank you. And I think a representative from 20 Waldemar wants to respond to that comment, and then we'll close for this evening.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gary Carter. I'm the proponent of the project at 20 Waldemar. I just wanted to respond to Sean. I appreciate your concerns, but it's not cheap to make adjustments and alterations to the plans moving forward. So at the first abutters meeting, we heard everyone's concerns, and we revamped the plans at great expense. So it's not like we went in to propose 9 units, only wanting 6 all along. That wasn't the motivation. I did hear some comments on shadowing. That's why we had that shadow study done. That clearly shows that the proposed building does not cast a shadow on the Tedeschi's house next door after like 10 a.m. in the morning, 11 a.m. So from 11 a.m. on, they're free of shadow from the proposed building. And if anything, they're casting shadow in our direction. I worked pretty close with Dan, sent him a lot of information on the drainage system that's proposed. I'd just like to add to Rich's comments. The stormwater runoff system that is installed in this type of building goes through a couple of different channels. It's designed by an engineer, then it's submitted to Boston Water and Sewer to be approved by their engineers. And then it also goes to the building department to be approved by them. And there's no chance of it overflowing because it's designed with an overflow that if the system was overwhelmed by a substantial storm, the extra water runs off into the sewer system. I hope that I was able to address some of these concerns, and I'm open to talk to anybody who is looking to voice their concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe it would be helpful if you could put your contact information in the chat. And then the Orient Heights Neighborhood Council Board will be in touch about the next DRC meeting in November.
Do we have a date on that?
We do not have a date, but we will be in touch. We are planning out our calendar this week.
Yeah. Just a quick question. And I know that we're sort of just relatively newer formation. I mean, I guess the concern is if there's, a fluid date for your meetings that has the potential to run up against other meetings in the community. And I know that, most other community groups work around everybody else's schedule and sort of work together. I know it's not possible to do every meeting on a night there's not another meeting, but there's certainly an opportunity to try to work around other schedules. So I'm just wondering if there's going to be a set date for the meeting versus, we're going to have it on this day when, most schedules for meetings are already established, by the first of the month. So, things get booked and unfortunately, we're not able, or we have run into conflict. So I don't know if that's been worked out or thought about yet.
I understand that. We've had a change in our board leadership and we've been working out our scheduling as we go for now, and we're doing our best. We hope to get back to the cadence that was previously for this council, but we do need to look at our calendar. So a date will be released shortly.
In addition, I know your meetings run an hour. And again, I appreciate everybody's time and effort here. And I apologize for being you know, having the conflict. But it would seem to me that, you know, with the number of projects likely upcoming, and I know I have several myself, that, you know, this may need to be a little bit of a longer meeting, especially if we want to afford applicants, you know, a time to be able to present their project and answer questions. While I understand, you know, again, people's time is limited, I do feel that based upon the number of projects we have, and if you want to hear us twice or multiple times, you know, there will be a very extensive process to try to get through the community to have, you know, to have a project reviewed. So maybe consider having, you know, even just a bit longer of a meeting or having additional items on your agenda.
Okay, we'll take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Maria.
Good night.